We are coming to you live via Facebook streaming, via YouTube streaming, and via Skype. Each one of you is welcome to this live streaming from our studios in Trinidad. Something went. Just give me a few minutes here. We are coming to you live from our studios in Trinidad. Sutras of Vigyan Bhairav Tantra. Understanding sex leads to transcendence. Understanding sex, its nature and everything about it leads to transcendence. If you go against it, if you go against sex and try to create a state of celibacy, purity, it is almost impossible. Or better to say, it is impossible. It will be just a magic. Without knowing what sex energy is, without knowing what it is constituted of, without going deep into its reality, its secrets, you cannot create the natural, spontaneous, an ideal celibacy. Then what will you do? You will simply suppress your sex desires. A person who suppresses becomes more sexual than a person who indulges in it really. When you indulge in sex, the energy is released, and if it is released consciously, it can lead to transcendence. But through suppression, it is there, continues to move from one position to another. It is like transposing. You have a flyover, there is a traffic flowing. Instead of creating other methods, you remove the blockage at that place, but it goes somewhere else and creates the blockage. This is known as, in traffic language, as transposing. The person who suppresses sex starts seeing sex everywhere. Everything becomes sexual for him. Not that everything is sexual, but now he projects. Now he projects his own hidden energies, is now being projected on everything. You can see this in Sigmund Freud. You're talking about dreams. He says the dreams are the outcome of sex desire. Everywhere he will look, he will find sex, and because he is condemning himself, he will start condemning everyone. You cannot find a moralist who is not conditioning. He is conditioning, he is not condemning. He goes on condemning everything. To him, everyone is wrong. Then when he does so, he feels good. His ego is fulfilled. Why is everyone wrong? Because he sees everywhere the same thing that he is suppressing. His own mind will become more and more sexual, more and more afraid. When you follow Tantra, when you understand the sex energy, what it is composed of, then you enter into a totally different realm of celibacy. But the very process is a totally different, a diametrically opposite. Tantra first teaches how to move in sex consciously, totally, how to know it, how to feel it, and how to come to the deepest possibility hidden in it. It talks about cosmic orgasm. It teaches you how to move into it consciously, how to know it, how to feel it, and anything you enter consciously leads you to transcendence, and how to come to the deepest possibility hidden in it, how to reach to the climax, how to find the essential beauty, the essential happiness and bliss that is hidden in it. Once you know the secret, it becomes easy to transcend it, because really the deepest sexual orgasm is not sex. Instead, it gives you bliss. It is something else. Sex is just a situation. Something else is giving you the ecstasy. It's just a situation. That something else can be divided into 3 elements. But when I speak about those elements, do not think you can understand them just as words. They must become part of your experience. As concept, they remain useless and meaningless. Because of these 3 basic elements in sex, you come to a blissful moment. The bliss or the ecstasy that you get in a sexual relationship is because of three basic elements. Those three are, firstly, timelessness. You experience a state of timelessness. You transcend time completely. If you are totally into it, you go beyond time. There is no time. You forget time completely. That moment time ceases for you. Not that time ceases. Time does not stop, but it ceases for you. You are not part of time. There is no past. Time means two things, past and future. If you reach during your sexual orgasm or sexual interaction a state when you forget completely the past and the future, the memory of the past and the imagination of the future. There is no past, there is no future, there is this very moment. That means you have transcended time. The whole existence is concentrated. This moment becomes the only moment, and you can make this moment the real moment without sex. Then there is no need for sex. So through this you experience timelessness, the moment of the present. Then anywhere or anything that you are doing, you can remain in the present moment. I give you an example. Normally when you go to a restaurant or somewhere else, you remain either in the memory of the past or the imagination of unborn future. How does it happen? You have a platter of food sitting in front of you, but you are thinking the last visit to the other restaurant where you went, their service, their food quality, their dishes, the price range, the memories of the past. But those memories cannot satiate you. It can simply give you the words, the magical effect, but not existential effect. It will not quench your appetite. It will not satiate you. Or if you at that moment start thinking of, there is a restaurant in New York. So when we go there, we must visit there. You know what is the beauty of that restaurant? It is run by a person who is a Michelin star. Or this and that and something like that. So but if you are in that moment, you can practice it. It happens sometimes. We go to the restaurant, now nobody takes me with them. Go to the restaurant, they are talking about this and that and so. So they ask me the question, I said, look, I am eating right now. I can answer your questions after I finish eating. I said, don't talk to him, he talks always nonsense. He doesn't know how to socialize. This is the kind of response you get if you are beginning to live. But you can, that moment when the food is in front of you, you are eating, you are allowing the food to enter your mouth, and from the mouth through the esophagus going to the center, you're getting the full satiation. If you just remain engrossed in talks and continue to swallow the food, it will not give you satiation, and after you are finished, you want to know what to eat now, because you are still I still miss something. I want to eat something, but I don't know what I want to eat. That is the outcome when you are not available to that moment, when something is happening in you. The moment becomes the only real moment, and sex teaches you how to go beyond this past and how to forget about the unimaginable, the imaginations of the future. Through meditation it happens. When you eat food meditatively, you cook meditatively, you are living meditatively, then sex is transcended. So the first aspect is, element of sex is timelessness. You are in that particular moment, because thinking about the past will keep you deprived of the orgasm that may happen at that moment. Secondly, in sex, for the first time, you lose your ego. You become egoless because you do not shy away from all those movements that take place. You are not concerned whether somebody is watching it or not. If you are egoistic, if ego is still dominant at that moment, you will not do those kind of movements which are natural during the act. What the other will say when the person sees me doing all these kind of movements, what he will think of me? That I was doing these movements? No, you are not bothered about any movement. You are flowing with this energy naturally, whichever way or whichever part of your body moves through that energy. This is a state of egolessness. You do not bother to say anything. For instance, things like that, you do not bother. You are coming to a peak state. You tell your spouse, do some more, do a little harder, do this, do that. Things like that, you do not hesitate in saying that. This happens only a state of egolessness. If ego prevails, you will hold, you will not say these things. What the person will say about when you ask him to do more or do this or do that, ego will prevent you from saying that. But in actually, when you are totally into the act, you forget ego, you are egoless. This is the second element. First is the timelessness, you are in that moment. Second is the element of egolessness, you are not, nor is the other there. When ego is there, there is a presence. There is, my ego will clash with your ego. When the two ego vanishes, there is only oneness. You and the beloved both are lost into something else. Neither your ego nor the spouse ego. You are into something else. A new reality evolves at that moment. A new unit comes into existence in which the two old are lost, completely lost. The ego is afraid of saying something that you are feeling at that moment, that you want to tell your spouse to do this or to do that, but because of ego you are afraid of saying that. In that moment you are deprived. If without sex you can come to that moment when you are not then the sex is transcended. If you can attain to the state of, now what happens when we are interacting in a day-to-day life? There are many moments you say that I am saying this. If you are talking to a younger, or your boss is talking to you, look, I am talking about it. You have to understand what I am saying. It does not mean that he is right. What is important? You must listen to your subordinates. For instance, younger ones, they are more versatile, more understanding the present technology. We, the older ones, are not that up to date. So you must listen to them when they say something, because everyone has something good to give. William Shakespeare says that none so vile upon this earth that live. Everyone has something good to give. So even your subordinate may have an idea or may look at the subject from a different perspective which you have missed. Always listen to it. In that moment, now you are listening to it and then analyzing what you said and what your subordinate or the younger one said, which is more beneficial for that project or the business. That time you are not guided by ego sense. You have transcended that. When this moment starts coming in your life on a day-to-day basis, sex becomes redundant. Because sex, it takes you to the element of timelessness. You are in that moment. And then the second element is egolessness. And thirdly, in sex, you are natural for the first time. The unreal is lost. You may have faces, you may have masked faces or the false images about you, your society, your cultural background, your conditionings, your civilizations, everything vanishes. So from the bliss that you get out of sex is not out of the interaction of the sexual act. It is because of these three elements. The first, state of timelessness. Second, disappearance of ego sense. And third, you are natural. You are spontaneous. A child is spontaneous. He does not care what people think about it, but you think many times. I have heard a little boy was there and his aunt was pregnant and was going to have baby. So his mother was taking the person to the doctor. So he was very anxious. What happened to auntie? So, mommy, you are taking the auntie to the doctor. Okay. So they comes back and wants, mommy, what did doctor say about auntie? Is she okay? Am I going to have a brother or a sister? So the mother says that the doctor said everything is okay. You are going to have a twin brother, 2 brothers. Oh, 2 brothers? That means uncle had a double barrel? Now the elder, the two women got embarrassed. That means Uncle X had a double barrel. He would have seen something there. When you have a gun with the two barrels, two bullets comes out at the same time. With one trigger, two bullets comes out. So how two brothers I am going to have, unless, so he put that what he saw in the television show, that from a gun it has two barrels and from each barrel a bullet comes out. So he said that means Uncle X have a double barrel. So the two ladies felt embarrassed. This is, the child was spontaneous. If he had any sense, or he was grown up, conditioned what to say and when some things has to be said or not, you cannot say those things. So sex teaches you how to be spontaneous. When you are a grown up, in sex you do not worry about anything. You just, to enter into the act, you undress yourself. There are many societies where the spouses have not seen each other naked, without clothes. I have come across many, and they mentioned, so I said, how do you make love? He said, in the dark we make love. So you have never seen your husband without clothes, or your husband never saw you that? Oh no. So how you do? We, in the darkness, we keep it under the cover and do it. So this is not natural. This is quite common. One day it happened that I had a cousin, a little boy. So he was used to make a lot of mischief. So everybody was angry with him that he is making this mischief or that mischief, and so I asked, why do you make so much of mischief? He said, bro, if I do not make mischief, do you think daddy will make mischief? Is it not a spontaneous reply of an innocent child? The children are the ones to make mischief, but when they make mischief, it is innocence. When a grown-up person makes mischief, it is considered not out of innocence. It is considered that you would have seen that in politics or in the office, this person is making mischief or plotting something against you. You call it, he is making a mischief against me. So three elements which are essential part of sex act. First, timelessness. Second, absence of ego or egolessness. And the third, being natural. The unreal is lost. You do not have mask faces. That how do I undress in front of a person? The civilization is lost, your conditioning is lost. You are part of nature like an animal. Trees as animals, as stars are. You are part of nature. You are a greater something, a cosmos, the Tao, that which is. You are floating in it. You cannot swim in it. Floating, swimming is effort, and floating is effortless. You are just floating, being taken away by the current. The current is you are in the act of sex. The energy is dominating, it is flowing like a current, and you are floating in it. Wherever it takes you, you are not bothered about it. You are just floating in that energy which has surfaced. These three things, the timelessness, you forget the past, you are not in the memory that when you made the last time love, or when you make next time, you are not bothered about it. You are in that very particular moment. If you learn that in sex, you can practice it everywhere. When you are eating, when you are taking a shower, you are doing anything. Second, egolessness. There are not two individuals, just oneness, a presence. And the third is you are natural and spontaneous. The energy is flowing. You are floating into it. You are wherever it takes you, it does not matter. If you go against the stream, you have to make a lot of efforts. If you are going upstream in a river, you have to make extra effort. But if you are flowing with the current, then you can simply relax and lie down onto the surface and you will float. And you are not bothered about where it will take you. So these three elements or things gives you ecstasy. The ecstasy that you get in sex really is not because of involvement of the elements, the instruments of sex. It is because of the three elements that happen during that moment: timelessness, egolessness, and spontaneity and natural. Sex is just a situation in which it happens naturally. Once you know, once you can feel these three elements, you can create these three elements independent of sex as well. Whatever you are doing, wherever you are dressing yourself, you are natural. You are not bothered about anything. All meditation is essentially the experience of sex without sex, because in meditation you experience timelessness, egolessness, and spontaneity. Meditation is sex without sex, but you have to go through sex. It must become part of your experience first. Not just there are concepts, ideas and thoughts. That is why I spoke about magical spell. The magician uses the word to create a situation, but reality is not so. Tantra is not for sex. It uses sex as a vehicle. Are you the vehicle? No, you use the vehicle. You maintain it because it takes you from one place to another for pleasure and work. Right? The vehicle that you have, it takes you on a journey for pleasure as well as for business. But you do not remain in the vehicle all the time. So Tantra uses sex as a vehicle. You are in the vehicle when you are in the journey from one place to another. When you reach the destination or the point of beginning, you hop out of the car, of the vehicle. So Tantra is not for sex, it is for transcendence. But you can transcend Only when you have the deepest experience, the existential experience, the cosmic orgasm, not through ideologies, only through experience, going into it, be totally and going beyond the three elements of timelessness, egolessness, and natural spontaneity, then you will reach to a point of a state which you can call it celibacy. It happens. It looks paradoxical how by getting involved in it you can become celibate. Only through knowledge, only through understanding, transcendence is possible. Without knowing, just thinking, you cannot transcend. Just thinking that eating the healthy food you can satiate yourself. No, you have to eat it. And eat the healthy food, maintaining the three elements of timelessness, egolessness. The dish that you ordered, you want to enjoy it, but the dish that other person ordered, you don't want to enjoy it. Or while eating, you are not natural or spontaneous. If you feel to eat by hands, the etiquette says that I must eat with the spoon, knife and fork. So people eating the flat bread or even the flat bread with knife and fork. So they cut the flat bread, which is roti or chapati or naan, with the knife and fork, and with the fork put it in their mouth and take the gravy or whatever it is with the spoon and put it out. You are not enjoying the food. So you have, and this is hypocrisy, because you have to you have to show the etiquette, how to eat in a restaurant. I have to be spontaneous and natural when eating. When you are eating the rice and gravy may have the chicken pieces, may have paneer which you have to crumble so that it mixes with the rice, otherwise rice is tasteless. And the gravy is also, it has a taste but they do not melt. And if they melt within the stomach, then what is the point of eating there? The satiation comes when you blend the food and it goes through your esophagus, through the process of chewing. That is the moment you get the satiation. First satiation you get when you feel the smell of the food, look at the color or look at the dish, how it looks, and the taste. And the taste does not come by eat the rice first and then take the vegetable and then mouth to do the rest. Mouth will not do that. Mouth will start chewing it and then you will not enjoy it unless you mix them properly. In Trinidad it is said that one of the common food is dal, rice and a leafy vegetable. Unless you mix them well, and that you cannot mix it with the spoon properly, the rice will remain grains. In this here, everything blends like as if it has gone through the blender. And if you eat the unblended food as compared to when it is blended, the taste is too different. You have to experience yourself if you have known how to eat naturally. So Tantra is not for sex. The whole emphasis of Tantra is using sex to transcend sex. Sex is the vehicle, but you can transcend only when you have experienced it, the existential experience, not through the ideology. And then it leads to a state of celibacy. You are no more interested into it. Just as when you have eaten food, you have attained satiation. Do you want to see food for next hours, for hours? But there is a difference between the food that nourishes your body and sex that nourishes your being. So only this much for this morning. Remember the three elements. Remember that sex, Tantra is not for sex. But people wrongly consider enter into Tantra because it gives you an opportunity to enter into sex. Not only with one, with this and that, and you can use the free. It is not so. When you change the taxis, the purpose is to reach the destination. You hop in the vehicle and you hop out when you come to reach your destination. And that can happen. Transcendence is possible only through experience, going into first-hand experience, remembering the three elements. Not otherwise. Only this much for this morning. Until tomorrow, take care and do have a pleasant day when tomorrow I take another question relating to this.